Hey guys, I wanted to do my November book wrap up. Excuse me. I read 8 books, DNF'd one, and the first book is The Tales of Beedle the Bard by J.K. Rowling. I rated this a 3 out of 5. I enjoyed the stories, but the parts where Professor Dumbledore came in and did a little um, description on how the story came about was boring to me, and that's why I rated it so low, is because I just didn't like that part of the story. The second book, this one was a reread for me, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. I rated it a 5 out of 5. Third book, it's Me Christie by Phyllis Green. I rated this a 3 out of 5. It was a toss up as far as good or bad, depending. Yeah. Then I read Sweet Valley Kids, Bossy Steven, number 18. It's by Francine Pascal. I rated this a 3 out of 5. And it's about the twins, Jessica and Elizabeth, and their brother Steven. Steven had won his science fair, but he had made a bet with his sisters before that if he won, he can be boss, and they would have to do anything that he pretty much said. And it came down to the point that he was just so bossy, he had to learn his lesson. And the twins and Steven baked a cake for their dad, and the twins ended up winning on that because their dad liked the twins' cake better than Steven's, and that's what changed him. Then I read Babysitter's Little Sister, number 49, Karen's Stepmother. I rated this a 3 out of 5. It was a good story. And the one I DNF'd and rated 1 out of 5 was Cornwolf by Tristan Agoff. I read 214 out of 378. It was over 50%, and the longer it sat here, knowing that I needed to try to finish it, I was just never drawn to it because the last time I read it, it was just so boring to me. I could never get into the story. And the longer it sat here, I was never drawn to it to finish it. That's why I figured, hey, I gave it a chance. I read over 50% and figured I'd just go ahead and DNF it. It wasn't worth my time. Then I read Dreams of Victory by Ellen Conford. I rated this a 2 out of 5. I didn't really care for this. I mean, if someone that was in like middle school age might relate to the story, but looking at it as from an adult perspective, I couldn't get it. I didn't quite care for it because it's just about this girl named Victory that she just daydreamed a lot, and that's all you pretty much read in the story was how she was daydreaming about this and daydreaming about that, and it was a little bit snippets of the story around it. Then I read Tough Luck Karen by Johanna Hurwitz. I rate this a 3 out of 5. Um, what got this name, I think, is at the beginning of the book, Karen was sent a lot of those chain letters that if you don't continue sending them on and you break the chain, that you get bad luck for 7 years or whatever. And she felt like she was having a lot of bad luck because of her schoolwork and this happening and that happening. And then when her sister helped her get a babysitting job and she was doing that, she was feeling like things were starting to turn up with the babysitting job, but then she was letting her schoolwork slack and her mother was getting involved, which she felt like it was just a lot of bad luck. And but it turned around. She got her schoolwork up and things started looking up for her. And then the last book I read, which I finished at 1 this morning, is The Journey of the Shadow Barons by Margaret J. Anderson. I rated this a 3 out of 5. I mean, I could easily do a 4 out of 5, but it was between there. It's about these two siblings, Elspeth and Robbie. They lost their parents at an early age. And Robbie was only 4 and Elspeth was 13. And the government wanted to separate them, send Elspeth into working as a maid somewhere. And they were in London when this happened. And see, before her parents died, her dad was wanting to travel to Canada to start a new life and farm because things were better there. And when the government stepped in after their folks passed, they ran off. And this was after she found where her father put the money in the tickets for them to get to Canada. And they play this game as Shadow Barons. And Barons means children in London or Scotland, because they're originally from Scotland. And I think that's what the word means. And it was tough luck. They got to Canada. The officials were trying to step in because they felt that they were abandoned when they weren't abandoned. They were just orphaned and they were trying to start a new life. And see, their aunt and uncle had went to Canada years before, so they figured they could go live with their family in Canada. And things were kind of starting to look down for them. I mean, they got their way to this one town. She ended up coming down sick because she had fallen in a creek to go after her brother's stuffed animal. And everybody up and left her there in the town while she was sick. And someone took her brother and supposedly had said something to her as she was in this in and out state of being sick, or where they could find her brother when she got better. And she didn't remember it till like months later. But she ended up staying at this motel till she got better. And this doctor looked after her, and then the doctor helped her get a job at the hotel that she was at, so she can work off her pay and her stay for there. And things looked up from there, because then this family that she met on the boat to get to Canada, um, took her in and hired her to help look after her because the lady was expecting a child, and then she was with them a short time and she was told about where her brother was at, and she got to be with her brother from there on out. So things looked up for her, and I do recommend, even though it's a middle grade book, but I recommend that someone try to find it, see if they can find it and read it. So for 9 books, I read a total of 1,330 books, and I'll catch with you guys in a couple of days with my TBR for December.